A chilly March to you, YouTube. All right, what are we working on today? We're not really working on anything, but I'm giving you a tour of the air plant, the pneumatic air plant upgrades that I did over the winter. At the end of last summer, I purchased a 3-force IR Ingersoll Rand impact gun. That thing sucks air like there's no tomorrow. And I do have some other high air tools, sandblasting cabinet, and die grinders, etc., and a plasma cutter, which uses a tremendous amount of air. And I was limping by in my DIY pursuits because I didn't need a whole lot of air often, but with the 3-force, I definitely needed a ready source of high volume air. So anyways, let's get to it. This compressor is a 26-gallon, 100% duty cycle, Husky, Home Depot brand. I've used it for decades. It's a nice little compressor. It handles everything that I need to do in the shop 95% of the time. So in my DIY work, automotive, half-inch impact, any other air tool that I use on a really small basis, it works just fine. But occasionally I do need more air. How I solved the more air problem was, and there's a video up on my channel from a few years ago, where I went and I bought another 26-gallon tank just like this, but with a roached compressor. And all I did is use it for the tank. So when I needed more air, more reserve air, not pumping volume, but more reserve air, I would just hook this up to the other tank, and then I would have a larger reserve, and that worked fine. And the other tank was like 20 bucks, you know, because the compressor was roached. It wasn't that big of a deal. But I needed to go bigger with the 3-force impact. All right, so what did I do? I put in a half-inch T here to bump up the pressure module, the pressure control electrical switch up. This is a half-inch quick disconnect. So this is a half-inch quick disconnect, ball valve, and then this was the stock line, and I moved it a little farther out to avoid this. I put the ball valves on it. The ball valves are nice because I can close it, and then I can leave my air hose hooked up, and I'm not losing air, it's not leaking past seals, and it's not pressurizing this plastic line. This sucker has an air gun on it now, but it sees a lot of bicycle use and tire use and a lot of low intensity things. So the ball valve on the end of the out here is fantastic, because when you're done with it, you turn it off, it doesn't leak air, and what's in here stays in here. The half-inch connection here is not for air tools. The half-inch connection here goes from here to the other 26-gallon tank. I then have a other 60-gallon compressor and tank in an outbuilding that also has a half-inch. So using these half-inch connections, I can plumb all the compressors together for one big, huge compressor when I'm doing a monster sandblasting project, intense plasma cutting, or I really need to hammer that 3-force impact now. So this allows me to manifold all the other compressors together. 1/4 inch on a ball valve is what I can use most of the time, etc., etc. The bottom of the tank has a ball valve and a 90-degree on it, so I can drain it at any time. Hear that? All my tanks have ball valves on the bottom to drain the moisture out of them. All right, that takes care of the details at the air plant. Now let's get to the manifolds and other stuff. I'll be back in a second. All right. Now, the use of all that air. Here we go. This right here is a 3/4 impact. It has got a 3/8 quick disconnect on the bottom of it. That is a 3/8 quick disconnect. Here is the hose. I've got a long 40-50 hose, but this is the hose for the 3/8 impact. There's a small little whip here that you can use. You can see the other videos I have out there about wire clamp tools, and there's a wire clamp. The wire clamp to keep the hoses together. Notice there's nothing to cut my fingers on. I am really a fan of wire clamps. Alright, so that's the small whip for the impact. This is the 1/2 inch connection hoses that allows me to manifold all the compressors together. So we've got a big old 1/2 inch quick disconnect, and usually what happens is that I just run this from one of the compressors to this manifold. Now this is a natural gas manifold, and we've got a 1/2 inch quick disconnect here, and we've got a 1/2 inch quick disconnect here. Here is a 3/8 air quick disconnect for the 3/4 inch impact, and then we've got a 1/4 inch. And then if I want to connect to the other compressors downwind, I can do that. So we've got a 1/2 inch on this end, and we've got a 1/2 inch quick disconnect on this end. Right here, since everything's modularized, this is a 3/8 regulator. I plan to eventually connect it to this as a protection so that I can have this on the floor. There'll be a bridge across the top of rebar or something so that you can pretty much drop it and kick it and it won't break the regulator. But the object of this whole setup was to keep things as flexible as possible. Nothing permanently fixed in place because, well, I need air all over the property, and if it's all fixed in one place, you know, I need hoses out there, and flexibility is the key to go. I'll be doing the same thing with a 1/4 inch regulator, and then we've got some other connections here, some manifolds. This is a 3/8 quick disconnect. These are 1/4, so I can have 2 1/4 hoses. Let's say, like, for 2 1/4 hoses feeding the 3/8 the 3/8 volume demand tools. And I've got a gender bender that allows me to hook hoses together so that so a 1/4 inch will allow me to tap into this with another compressor. The setup is actually pretty slick, and that's how I've cobbled together a big air plant with cheap tools and cheap components. And hopefully this summer we'll put all of this stuff to work, and we'll see how she plays out in the long run. Bye.